Morning. Another ukulele review. Probably one last one for a little while actually. This one is a aNueNue concert ukulele. I know I don't normally show you the cases and go through all that sort of stuff, but one of the things I want to sort of show you is that the case is outstanding. Hard handle, fold away shoulder straps, large front pocket, very well built, obviously water resistant, and the inside obviously is padded with a Velcro restrainer really for the neck of the ukulele, and the ukulele inside is this one. So thanks guys for sending this through for me to review. Just to give you an idea, this is pronounced aNueNue, which is the Hawaiian for rainbow, and it's a concert size ukulele, all mahogany, and the build quality is outstanding. The finish, deep gloss finish, is like a mirror finish with mother of pearl inlay for the logo, the little man at the top, with metal gear machine heads, with the through headstocks, with obviously nylon strings, with the rosewood fretboard and rosewood breech. This, as an ukulele for a concert point of view, it feels solid. It feels really solid, even more so than the Martin ukuleles, and again I recorded my first album using a Martin concert Koa and a Martin SO1 double tracked, so I could get that Koa brightness with the sort of higher end sort of mahogany tone from that. That was a long time back now, and obviously I know a lot better now than to do that. I tend to obviously just use either the Canaliers or the Cordobas for acoustic recordings. But this is amazing. Expensive, yes, obviously they're going to be. I assume that I've looked at the retail prices of these and they're in the sort of 600, 649 mark. But again, it's a lifelong instrument. It's not something you're going to have to buy another version of. The headstock, the thickness of the headstock, as you may see there, is pretty much the same as you'd get on an acoustic guitar, which is no bad thing. It's solid. It basically, it feels like it's going to last forever. It's not going to be a massively long review, to be perfectly honest with you, because I haven't really got anything bad to say about this. One of the other things as well that's on top of all of this is the sound. It's loud. It's a concert ukulele, but it's louder than my Canalier tenor, with great sustain and very bright. So as you can hear, it's very, very, very bright. And basically finger picking style or strumming. And as I say, with the strumming style, it's loud, it's bright. With finger picking, it's easy to hear each individual note. And the sustain again, an outstanding ukulele. Inside very well built, no obvious, as you'd expect, signs of glue or anything whatsoever. Overall, a great ukulele. And I would highly recommend this. You know, if anyone's got the money to spend, especially nowadays at the moment, to spend on an ukulele, a concert, or if you're undecided whether to go for concert ukulele, obviously the main thing really is to go and play them. Go to your local music shop or ukulele shop if you're lucky to have one, and play them. You know, some people will find, you know, the main differences between sort of concert and tenor is obviously the scale, the size. Same tuning, same strings, pretty much. But it's just basically, you know, when I was recording using originally just using the concerts rather than the tenors that I went over to. I went over to the tenors purely because of the volume and the tone and the sound. And also from the point of view of actually having an electro one, and that's where the Cordoba came in, and they gave me one of their 24 TE ukuleles to use, and that was, you know, it's great. It's a great ukulele. Again, still sort of retails around about sort of the £650, £700, I suppose, the Cordoba. But this one, you know, obviously isn't electro, so you would need to obviously mic it up. That's something to consider when you are looking at ukuleles, whether or not you're going to be playing live, or you're going to need amplification, and then, you know, what sort of electronics does it have in it, what sort of volume, tone controls, etc. does it have, or is it just a straightforward, you know, active output with a volume control, in which case then you might need an amplifier or some sort of you know, acoustic pedal or something to actually sort of tweak some of the EQ. And as I say, you know, those of you that are considering that type of ukulele, in previous reviews where I've looked at the Lava U ukulele, remember it's got all that built in. You know, it is obviously that, going back to the carbon sort of plastic mixture composite, but it does have all of those built in. It is active, it's rechargeable, so you don't need to worry about batteries failing you, etc. And it does come in a concert size as well as a tenor size, that the Lava U, with the same electronics. So it's up to you really, you know, depending on what you want to do. But if you're going for traditional looking, traditional sounding, you know, this is great. Obviously we've got to look at, you know, koya as a word is protected, and it's one of the things that you know, we're going to see less and less of those, I'd imagine, over the you know, the near future, along with, you know, rosewood. You know, rosewood technically now shouldn't necessarily be used, and they are using different materials for that, so it'll only be the older ones that have them. So, you know, you could even look at this as something that will go up in value possibly because of the materials alone. But as I say, the finish is outstanding. But going back to what I was saying, you know, when you're looking at, you know, if you're looking for bright tone and volume, and that's your only concern when you're looking for an ukulele, this one, you know, it is, you know, a little bit higher in sort of tone and not pitch, obviously, because that'd be a different tuning. But the tone is a little bit higher, but it's not a bad tone, you know. It sounds nice, and the volume is loud. So, you know, if I'd have actually sort of seen this before I'd gone over to tenors, I'd have probably stuck with playing concert ukuleles, because I prefer the scale a little bit. You know, it's a little bit like with the sopranos, you know, the neck is a little bit squashed up, so if you've got bigger, fatter fingers, you know, you may find sometimes that the concert's not great. The width of the neck is obviously something that some people worry about. This is actually quite wide, so it's actually quite comfortable to play. And the actual feel of this the volume of this compared to the tenors is just as loud, and you've got, if not the same amount, if not more, sustain. So, you know, definitely think about when you're buying ukuleles, especially if you're spending this sort of money, what are you going to be using it for? Is it going to be just for home use? If you are going to play it live, then, you know, if you get something like this, then you're going to need to mic it up. So you'll need to have a microphone in front of it or something. I wouldn't necessarily go down the route of start drilling holes in it and doing all that sort of stuff, because these things are designed, you know, around the body of the ukulele, and the acoustics and the resonance is quite important. So drilling holes is not going to do any good. And also, unless you know what you're doing, you could absolutely ruin it. But, you know, you're better off buying an electro one if that's what you want. You know, the other thing as well is that from my perspective, I tend to record. So whenever I'm recording in the studio, I tend to use an acoustic ukulele, either the Canalia now or the Cordoba, or one of these would be great as well. But basically, I tend to use acoustic, and I mic them up using condenser microphones in the studio. Obviously, you can't use condenser microphones live because obviously they're sensitive and they will feed back. But in a studio environment, they'll pick up all the acoustics and the resonance as the instrument was designed to sound. And that's the ultimate goal when you're recording, is to try and get this sound that you hear between you and the instrument onto the recording, and then you can enhance it afterwards if you need to, with reverb or any sort of modulation effects or dynamic effects if necessary. But ultimately, I tend to record with acoustics, and when I play live, I use an electroacoustic, either a Cordoba, Godin. If you've looked at my other websites, you'll see some of my ukulele setups. The valve amplifier with the Godin, for example, is the one that I predominantly use for the larger sort of shows, as it were. But when I'm sort of travelling around, if I'm going abroad or something and playing, I normally take either the Cordoba with me, which will plug in if necessary, but I can play it acoustically happy. That's probably changed a little bit now, to be honest with you, after doing some reviews. The aNueNue ukulele that I reviewed, is great for travelling around because it's composite neck. It doesn't necessarily move and bow. That's something that obviously with this type of instrument, whether it be this one or whether it be another, expensive ukulele or instrument, you've got to look after it. You've got to, remember this is wood. Leaving it in cold, damp places is not going to do it any good. And sometimes you'll see old instruments with cracking on the finish, etc. That's because the wood underneath is a living thing, okay? So therefore, if it moves around and it sort of shrinks and then expands with heat, temperature, atmosphere, whatever, the actual finish tends to crack. So that's one of the things that you need to be aware of. That you get one of those little damp bags or whatever, stuff it in the case with the ukulele or whatever instrument it is, just to make sure that it absorbs that dampness. But you do need to keep it relatively constant and consistent with the temperature, and don't let it get too cold. And that's one of the things that you're, with any instrument you should be doing. But overall, a great ukulele. I'm going to probably do a recording with this a little bit later and put it onto YouTube. I've got to been asked to or record my version of Imagine by John Lennon, and I'll probably use this, so keep an eye out for it. Thanks for watching.